The Iranians have been doing this for some time now. They're fed up. This isn't the first time Israel has organized large-scale demonstrations. Raisi, when he spoke in September of 2023, I believe, at the UN, said that the unrest that followed the tragic death of that Kurdish girl in police custody, he said that put the greatest pressure on the Islamic revolution since the revolution. It was a very dangerous time, he said. They exploited all of the fractures in Iranian society, and they came at us hard. He said, but the Iranian people rallied around and they were able to restore this. Notice what I said. The Iranian people rallied around. The Iranian government didn't violently suppress these people. Those cells still were there. They were supposed to rise up in the 12-day war in June, but the decapitation didn't happen, and the Israelis held them in reserve. But the Iranians know this stuff. They, all those drone operators they caught, they're dead. They got hung, as they deserve to. And now they've caught all the people who committed murder on behalf of Israel. Israel just lost the lion's share of its assets. And this is why Israel's panicking right now, because if Trump doesn't attack, then Israel won't be able to do this again. This was supposed to be the big move. This is supposed to be the regime change. The theocracy is not supposed to exist very soon. Now Israel's looking around saying, America missed the window of opportunity. It's too late. And, but the Iranian government finally, I believe, woke up to the fact that you have to eradicate these cells. You can't play soft. You can't slap a wrist. You can't hang a few. You have to kill them all. And I think that's what they're doing right now. And I don't think the Iranian people are losing too much sleep over this. The Israelis are, and the pro-Israeli faction in the United States are losing a lot of sleep. But, they've had large-scale demonstrations in Iran with millions of people in the street demonstrating for the regime. It's over. The Israelis lost.
More and more news is rolling in, and I think it would be helpful for the audience to know what the consequences of a war with Iran would be, because now we're even having, and this is surprising to me, this just broke. Israeli and Arab officials have privately suggested the U.S. hold off on Iran strikes. Israeli officials have suggested the Trump administration delay large-scale strikes until the Iranian regime is even more strained, while one Arab official said there's a lack of enthusiasm from the neighborhood for American military action right now. But Scott, there are people who are very enthusiastic about a war with Iran. Here was Lindsey Graham in front of Zionist donors, actually, as the announcement that Trump might attack Iran.
I don't know what, but this might be the night. It's just a matter of time now. It's just a matter of time. Why is it just a matter of time? And you know what I'm talking about, don't you? This tyrannical regime needs to end. We need to end this for the good people of Iran and for our own selves and the people of Israel. We need to take this guy down. He needs to leave standing up or laying down. I don't care. He needs to go. And if we can pull this off, it'd be the biggest change in the Mideast in 1,000 years. Hamas, Hezbollah, gone. The Houthis, gone. The Iranian people, an ally, not an enemy. The Arab world moving toward Israel without fear. Saudi Israel normalized. No more October the 7th. I haven't slept or eaten in 3 or 4 days.
So he is that enthusiastic, Scott, about this, that he hasn't eaten or slept in days. Scott, talk about what the consequences of a war with Iran, what would they really be? It seems like many Gulf countries, even some in Israel, which is shocking to me, are very much concerned about the consequences.
Israeli infrastructure won't exist when this is done. The Iranians made some clear targeting messaging near the end of the conflict, striking oil refining capabilities, striking some energy production facilities. And and then proving they can hit with pinpoint accuracy very specific targets. So they took out, an office here, an office there. To the average onlooker, it was like, oh, well, that's just one missile hitting in a random spot in Tel Aviv. To the Israelis, they went, damn, they hit exactly where that thing was that we were doing. And that also was a signal to the Israelis that the Iranians know about that thing that they were doing. And they hit it and they destroyed it. And that's why Netanyahu panicked. I mean, he was in sheer panic because the Iranians sent very clear messaging that we know everything. And if we want to, we can kill it. But, the problem is Israel hurt Iran. Iran was hurting as well. And so both sides wanted this war to come to an end. But Iran's not going to wait 12 days to send that messaging. This is going to come on day one. And so, I mean, I'm not saying they will kill Netanyahu, but they could very well kill Netanyahu, depending on his reactive, how he reacts. They can kill a lot of the Israeli leadership, and I believe the Israeli leadership will be on the plate. They will destroy the critical infrastructure of Israel, up to and including Dimona. And maybe not the nuclear reactor, but taking out very specific targets, because there's nothing that can defend against what Iran has. You might shoot down 1, 2, 3, 4, but you're not going to shoot them all down. And they're so damn accurate and they're so damn powerful that Israel will be effectively removed from the map. I don't care about Israel. I mean, good. I care about Americans. I don't support Trump, but my God, there's men and women out there who took the oath to wear, to serve their country. They're wearing the uniform of their country. And we have a duty and responsibility to ensure that their lives aren't thrown away in vain. They got their orders. They had to deploy. They have to do the jobs they're given. They're sitting ducks. And the Iranians know everything. They know every target. And the Iranians aren't going to hold back. I don't believe they are. I don't believe there will be a warning shot. I think when the time comes, the Iran will smother American bases the same way they're going to smother Israel. And that's it. And then if the war continues and Israel strikes, for instance, strategic energy targets inside Iran, then you're going to see Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz, destroy Saudi oil fields, destroy UAE oil fields. And now we have an energy crisis in the world that nobody's ready for. I mean, Donald Trump's like, well, we got Venezuelan oil. It's still in the ground, Donnie. Still in the ground. Even your big oil company say it's going to take a while to get it out in any significant. This should be a lesson to anybody who starts playing stupid games with oil infrastructure. When you have a nation like Venezuela was producing, 3 million barrels a day at one point in time, does anybody here know about well maintenance, about pressurization, about water pressure, about water levels? What do you have to do with a well once you start extracting oil to prevent water from seeping in and contaminating? What kind of pressures you have to maintain? And you have to maintain them in an active manner as the oil is extracted. It's not reactive. It's all planned out. So when you start decommissioning production and you start drawing these wells down, that pressure goes away, water levels rise, you get a dilution, you corrupt the integrity of the product. Now, that doesn't mean it's unusable. It just means that you just made it much more expensive when they finally get it out. And then when you come back, you've got to repressurize, you got to do the whole thing. This is reality. This happens when the only nation in the world that can get away with this is Saudi Arabia, who massively on purpose overproduced their oil extraction infrastructure because they were supposed to be the brake. They were supposed to be in the United States. Well, we need more oil in the economy. Hey, Saudi Arabia, jack it up a little bit. Right. We need to, get the prices to go. Hey, Saudi Arabia, slow it down a little bit. We got to manage this. And Saudi Arabia would do that. Saudi Arabia would increase production, decrease production based upon the orders given by the United States. But that requires global stability in terms of energy. But when the United States goes in and we destroy stability through the stupidity of our sanctions, America, I just look around my house right now. Light, energy, oil, plastics. Oil. Oil is everywhere. Oil is in everything we have here. Oil just doesn't go to producing gasoline. Oil makes modern life possible. We need a lot of it on a sustainable fashion. And the stupidity of America's policies are designed to deny oil to the market. Now, we produce our own oil, but the price will go up. I don't know about the average American out there, but my bank account is extraordinarily finite. And when prices go up and my income doesn't match it, that means that I'm buying less with what I earn. And when you start increasing the price of oil, all prices go up. It has a cascading impact. This is our future, guys. They're going to kill thousands of Americans, tens of thousands of Israelis, fundamentally alter the Middle East economy like you've never seen. And the blowback to our economy and the global economy will be disastrous. Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed it, because next Christmas, you may not be able to do what you did. This is Donald Trump. This is the most evil man on the planet, the most dangerous man in the world, and this is what he's doing today. You don't buy into this crap about the evil Iranian regime. Look, the one time, when Ahmadinejad was elected president, I bought in sort of to the, Ahmadinejad, bad guy. But then I went to Iran to investigate. This is during Ahmadinejad's time. These are the most wonderful people in the world. They're peace-loving. They are friendly. They love Americans. They've just bent over backwards to be hospitable. They're highly educated. They're modern. We're Americans. Our standard of living. Go to Iran, guys. Take a look at their standard of living. I drove on the superhighway out of Tehran, going towards Qom, going towards where the Natanz facility was. There's a city nearby. I can't remember the name of it. But it's a superhighway. And I went into their rest center. Clean, modern toilets. They flush, and they're clean. There's none of this smell you get in the New York, throughway. The smell of some drunk who decided he was going to miss the urinal and just pee on the floor, and they're not going to clean it up, or the guy who emptied his bowels in the back and it's overflowed. And that doesn't exist in Iran. It's clean. They had fast food, but it was good food. It was healthy food. The idea that the Iranians are backwards, that that they're looking to the West for a superior way of life, is absurd in the extreme. I've been to Iran, and I would dare say that 99.99% of the people out there who are slamming Iran today have never been to Iran, and they don't know the reality of Iran.
Yeah, let me comment on Air Force Colonel Lindsey Graham, who was a lawyer in Air Force, and he was after deserters and people who didn't want to go to war. And he lived. He did live in the barracks. He lived in the officers club and so forth. Lindsey Graham is the kind of guy that Defense Minister Healy in London is, and I just want to kind of put a reality to this, because although the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova is the consummate diplomat, every now and then she loses it, okay? And what she said, when Healy said, we're going to kidnap Putin, he's first on our list, we're going to kidnap him and make him triumph for war crimes. This is what she said officially on Russian TV. Defense Secretary John Healy, his remarks are, and I quote, "the wet dreams of British perverts," period, quote. Okay. So now you have this kind of thing with Lindsey Graham. You have this kind of thing from Central Casting, Dick Tracy type, Trin Pete Hegseth. The problem is that if you take this, or if you're required to take this seriously, as Putin and Xi are, you say, my God, we have a delusional narcissist as president of the United States we don't know what he's going to do. There is no break. As a matter of fact, these people catalyze his narcissism and give him the idea that we're the kind of martinets that will support you no matter what. And besides, we look pretty good on TV. So we're going to. Now, the problem with all that is if you're Putin, let's say Putin, he's looking at all this, my God, who does the president have to rely on for some solid advice? Well, the answer is maybe Tulsi Gabbard. Where was Tulsi Gabbard when the big decisions were being made in Venezuela? Oh, she was sunning herself in Hawaii. Okay, I think that's probably the truth. She was not consulted. So let me just bring this back to a historical perspective here. When the CIA was created, Truman wanted one agency that would have access to all the information available to the Pentagon, the State Department, the code breakers, everybody else, a central place where he could go, the president, and say, look, you told me like it is, okay? Tell me what's going on. I don't care what the Pentagon is saying. They're 12 feet tall, these Soviets. The State Department says they're only 5 feet tall. Look, I give you career protection for telling me the truth. Now, that's what analysts did. That's what I did for 2/3 of my career until Bobby Gates and Bill Casey messed it all up, okay? But we were able to tell the president that. Now, what about regime change, okay? Oh, that was something that when the legislation was being prepared, none other than George Kennan said, oh my God, the Russians are, the Soviets are assassinating people. They're all kinds of dirty tricks. They have these mokria dela, these wet things. We have to have the same capability. And they put that into the legislation. The legislation reads, the president, the CIA, the director of the CIA shall perform such other tasks and duties, besides the major thing of analysis, as such other functions and duties as the president of the United States shall from time to time direct. So you have two CIAs. The one that Tulsi Gabbard has tried to resurrect and reestablish the analysis part, who were cut out of this Venezuela operation because the operatives were telling the president and telling everyone else, yeah, we can do this. Of course we can do that. And when somebody said, what about next week or what about next year? That was an impolite. That was a bit out of the question. Okay. So what I'm saying here has historical precedent. Okay. What happened in 1953? Well, I graduated from elementary school in 1953. I learned later that we overthrew a leftist-leaning, Soviet-inclined puppet who happened to be the freely, independently elected prime minister of Iran for the first time in 2 millennia. Okay? Now, what was his name? Mossadegh. What was his offense? Oh, he had the temerity, mind you, to say, I think the Iranian people should profit a little bit more from the riches under our sands. So they call it oil. Yeah, we shouldn't give it all to the British. And now the British, MI6, took the fledgling CIA, mind you, just 1953, by the shoulder and said, no, you young guys, you have to understand, this is what you do when an upstart in the third world thinks that the oil underneath his soil belongs to him. And there was a terrible coup in. So the next year they did Guatemala. They've been doing this all the time. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that this is in the legislation. And when later President Kennedy, and this is perhaps the best example, I'm trying to give a context here. When Kennedy came into office, they briefed him on the Bay of Pigs, that all these rebel forces that had trained really well in Guatemala, elsewhere, they're going to invade Cuba. And guess what, Mr. President Kennedy? Fidel Castro is going to fall because there'll be a public insurrection and we'll get rid of those communists in Cuba. Okay. Now, Kennedy looked at the plans and he said, I don't think so. Oh, you say Eisenhower approved it? Well, go ahead. But look, don't expect me to authorize the use of U.S. armed forces in case you get bogged down on the beach. Now, they laughed at him. They said, and we know from Holland Dulles' handwritten notes, coffee-stained handwritten notes from his desk after he died, that he said, when we get caught on the beach, the president will have no other option other than to support us with aircraft and army stuff, lest the enterprise fail. Enterprise remove Castro. Okay, so it was a setup. What did JFK do? And this is what every president should do. He said, hey, who's around here that can look into why these people told me that Castro is going to fall? Oh, Arthur Schlesinger Jr. You're a historian, but could you take 2 months off? Yeah, 2 months, and look at how this farcical explanation how did it go? So he went to less than 2 months. We have the memo now. Schlesinger to Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy, I hate to tell you this, but the analysis division of CIA was cut out of this whole thing. They were not even informed that would happen, much less asked for their views on, for example, whether Fidel Castro would be the victim of a popular insurrection. All the analysts said that was crazy, that would never happen, but they weren't consulted. So it was the operatives who wanted to run the operation. Now, the same thing is happening in Venezuela. The same thing is happening anytime you have not only a CIA director like John Ratcliffe, but when you have a national security advisor. Now, who's the national security? Oh, my God. That's Rubio.
Yeah.
Now, Rubio is also the Secretary of State. But national security advisor gives you the ability, the duty, really, to funnel things into the president. You can be very selective. And a lot of what Trump has been led to believe comes from Rubio, for sure. So all I'm saying here is that needs to be fixed. And will it be fixed? Well, one hope springs eternally, but when Tulsi Gabbard proves to have been right about this kind of thing, when her memos from her analysts on Venezuela can be dug out of the computers, I think there's a chance that there'll be a reckoning, and especially if Venezuela becomes the United States' new Vietnam, and I'm pretty sure it will, unless they stop it right now, then maybe, just maybe, people come to their senses, realize there are two CIAs, separate them out, give the operations people to the Pentagon where it should be, and let the intelligence people do the analysis and come up with what Truman called several times untreated intelligence, which means tell me like it is, don't flavor it, don't distort it. And the last thing I'll say is that the worst crime, and I saw it, and so did Scott, on Iraq, okay? We know that on July 20th, 2002, the head of MI6, Sir Richard Dearlove, came to Langley to ask George Tenet, the director of Central Intelligence, what does Bush really plan to do? Now, Tony Blair talks to him every week, but, it's not the same as... So Tony asked me to come, what are you going to do? And when Blair went back to brief... When Sir Richard Dearlove went back to Blair, we have the minutes of that meeting, and it says the operative sentence, the operative paragraph, Bush has decided to invade Iraq on the pretense of weapons of mass destruction and terrorism. Translation, we're going to say he has weapons of mass destruction, and then he's going to give them to terrorists. We're going to associate Saddam Hussein with 9/11. It will work like a charge, and then the crowning sentence. But the facts and the analysis is being shaped around the policy. So Blair knew that, Tenet knew that, and they did it anyway. And my saddest time is watching my former colleagues who were participants in that fraud get meritorious step increases and prizes for fashioning a national intelligence estimate that was fraudulent from the get-go and which they knew was fraudulent, all to please the Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney. May he rest in peace forever.